Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 4 of Cooking Matters Live with 18 Reasons. My name is Abby, and I am a program coordinator with 18 Reasons, and this is my coworker, Austin, who is also a program coordinator. 18 Reasons is a nonprofit community cooking school based in San Francisco, and we seek to empower our community with the confidence and creativity to buy, cook, and eat good food every day. And so today we have a snack time for you all. Go ahead, if you're watching right now, introduce yourself in the comments, tell us where you're coming from and how you heard about us. And also let us know if you're cooking along so that we know if anyone is going to be cooking along with Austin today. So snack time this week, we're going to be making kale chips, watermelon agua fresca, and avocado hummus. So these are all going to be really easy recipes that you can whip up really fast and also save for future. We want to thank all of our partners for inviting participants to the session. So Pittsford Unified, Bay Area Community Resources, Monument Impact, a lot of SF sites too as well. And I think that's all I have. So we're ready for Austin to show us some snacks.
Yeah, so today we're making some healthy snacks that they all take just a few minutes to prepare. So the idea is kind of whenever you're craving something and you've got stuff lying around your house, here are some ideas that you can adapt for what you have or your skill level to maybe avoid going for like those Cheetos or, you know, whatever is not going to make you feel good after you eat it. So we have 3 recipes today, like Abby said: kale chips, avocado hummus I have some veggies that we're going to chop up to dip into it, and watermelon agua fresca, which is basically just like watermelon juice. So unfortunately, I realized after I made the menu, we are using a lot of appliances today. We have the blender for the agua fresca and the food processor. So if you're cooking along at home, which I see one person says that they aren't, which is great, we'll try and work around all the appliances because normally you probably wouldn't make all 3 of these together, but that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to start with the kale chips because they need to go in the oven for a few minutes. So if you're cooking along, preheat your oven or turn it on now. I already preheated mine, so it's ready to go. And then here we have everything that we need for this first recipe. So this is about a half a bunch of kale because the recipe said a whole bunch, but as I was doing this, I was like, this is so much kale. So this is about a half, and then I have one more stem here just to demo how I got these little leaves. And then I'm going to use curry powder as my spice, curry powder and garlic powder and a lemon. So you can change it up however you want. I recommend maybe I don't know. For pretty much any spice would be good on this, I feel like.
Yeah, I was thinking you can do a lot.
Yeah, and you even don't have to spice it, or you just do salt and pepper if you're feeling like that instead. So we're gonna start. I'll show you how to prepare this kale. You could use a knife to cut out the rib, which is this long, pretty fibrous stem. But I think it's easier to just use my hands, especially with this one that's so curly. Because if I tried to cut it, it would just be all over the place. So I'm just ripping off leaves to be about this size is how big my chips are going to be. They're going to shrivel up quite a bit, so I'm keeping them pretty big. You could definitely use the flat kale or the dino kale. There's when I went to the store yesterday, there were probably 3 or 4 different types of kale, and I think they would all work. It's just a little bit of a different textural experience. So now I have my whole rib here that I'm just gonna put in the compost, and I have some smaller pieces which I'm just gonna leave in there because they'll cook up and get really little crispy bits, which I want. And then most of my pieces are about this big. So into the bowl they go, and I washed this before I started. So now I'm gonna add all my seasonings. Since I have so much kale here, I have 3 tablespoons of olive oil. You could use probably any type of oil, depending on what kind of flavor you're after. Olive oil is a little bit flavored, so I'm okay with that. But if you don't want any flavor, you could use like canola oil. I have some garlic powder that I'm just going to sprinkle around. You could definitely use fresh garlic, but I'm using the powder. Then I have some curry powder. Oh no, this one doesn't have one of those like shaker.
Oh no.
So we're going to improvise a little bit. I'm putting about a teaspoon in my hand, and then I'm going to sprinkle it around. Oh no, now my hands are all like orange, but it'll be okay. Get a little of this extra off. And then I'm going to squeeze probably half of this lemon because I don't want it to be too lemony. I would like roll the lemon like this to get all the little juice pockets in there burst, but this one's pretty smushed already, so I'm just not going to do it. And then I think we talked about this in the previous week. I'm going to juice it over my hand to catch any seeds that might come out. And altogether, I think this is probably like a tablespoon of lemon juice if you care about the measurements. All right, and then the seeds and the rind go into my compost bowl. And I'm gonna wash my hands real quick. Actually, no, I'm not, because I'm gonna toss this, so I'll wash it. And just make sure everything gets kind of evenly coated. The oil is the most important because it'll keep it from burning, because we would not want that. Sometimes, like, we have a lot of recipes at 18 Reasons that are called massaged kale. And that's when you like really get in here and squeeze it up so that you're bruising the kale a little bit, and it's just like a little nicer texture for the salad. But since I'm cooking this anyways, I do not have to do the massaging part. Okay, now I'm gonna wash my hands.
So Austin, what was that tip that you were showing us where you rolled the lemon? That just makes it juicier and separates it.
Yeah, I'll probably do it again. We have a citrus in every one of our recipes today, but nice. You see how the lemon is made up of these larger segments, and then within there's little tiny, like, I don't know how you describe it, little like grains that are filled with juice, and that's where all the juice from the lemon is stored. So by rolling it in my hands, I'm bursting as many of those little membranes as possible, so that when I squeeze it, the juice just like comes out. So it makes it a little easier.
Nice.
So I have my pan here. It's not oiled or anything because I oiled the kale, so it should be okay. I'm gonna spread it in as thin of a layer as possible. Really, I should probably use 2 sheets to get like really one layer, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. All right. I forgot to salt and pepper it. I'll do it right now, because that is definitely important. And as with all seasoning, this is kind of a choose your own adventure. So you didn't want to put any salt and pepper, you're really into kale flavor and that's all you want, that would be fine too. If you're trying to mask the kale flavor, which is probably what I'm going to have to do for my family, then you might want to amp up the spices a little bit.
That's how I first got into eating kale, was kale chips, because when I was younger, I was like, well, I don't like the taste of kale itself. But then I tried kale chips and I was like, oh my gosh, it doesn't taste like kale.
Yeah, that's like probably 90% of the way that we eat kale in my house is kale chips. I'm going to put this in the oven. Abby, will you set a timer for like 7 minutes, please?
Yes. On it.
My oven is at 325 also.
Okay. Oven at 325 for 7 minutes.
I love making salads with kale when I'm just feeding myself, because it's so hearty that it feels way more like a meal to me than like romaine or something in a salad, because that's like basically just water, in my opinion. I do love romaine too, but different strokes for different folks. All right, so now while that is cooking, we're gonna move on to the avocado hummus. So move that aside. I have all my ingredients here. So we've got a can of garbanzo beans that I already drained, and avocado that's a nice ripeness. You wouldn't want it too ripe where it's starting to go off. And I think this might be a good recipe for avocados that aren't quite ripe enough, because we're going to blend it anyways. So we don't have to worry about the texture so much. A lime is going to go in there, and some veggies for dipping. You could use whatever you want, or pita chips or whatever. Oh, and some cilantro. Did I say that already? The recipe calls for fresh garlic, but I feel like sometimes when I'm eating hummus, especially, or anything with raw garlic in it, it just like stays in your mouth forever, and I'm not really like feeling like that today. So I'm gonna do about a teaspoon and a half of garlic powder. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not trying to have garlic breath for the whole recipe. I'm gonna start by chopping up this celery, one of the best dipping vegetables in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Truly, it was made for dipping.
Yeah, it's like dip shape already. So I put it right down the center, and then I'll probably cut a little bit, like halfway up, just to make this fat end a little smaller. Same on this side, and I just cut all the way through. So now it's like got two little legs, and then I'm going to cut it to the size that I want for my dipping pieces. I'll leave that one. And then just put it aside for later. And I already washed this, of course. Abby, what's your favorite dip veg?
Mm-hmm. Celery and bell peppers.
Yeah. I have some bell peppers in my fridge that I was going to use, but they're so precious that I'm going to save them for another meal at another time.
Yeah. I just love how crunchy a raw bell pepper is with hummus. So good.
All right. So now I have this big fat carrot. You could, of course, use baby carrots, although I try to avoid baby carrots because I didn't know this till recently, but they're just shaved down big carrots. So there's a lot of waste in the production process. So I just would rather eat a big carrot and cut it myself. So that I'm eating the whole thing. You could certainly peel it, but I don't really care that much. So I'm not going to peel it.
Yeah, I think as long as you get the soil off the outside, then.
Yeah, I washed the outside. So I always thought it's kind of extra when people peel carrots. What are you even really doing? I guess it's prettier that way, but
yeah, a lot of the fiber is in the skin too. So
yeah, if you were going to peel it, you can use the skins for like a stock or a salad, or feed it to your compost worms. Your meat, they really like carrots. So I cut it into quarters, and I have these big long pieces, and I'm going to cut them into dip size. So little batons. This is sometimes called crudité. I don't really know what that means, but it's like vegetable spears that you dip in stuff. All right. So now I'm going to prep my hummus. So here's the bowl of my food processor that I'm going to use. You could use a blender, or you could probably mash by hand if you're confident and committed, if you don't have a food processor or a blender. And then I'll do my avocado. Hopefully there's not any surprises like waiting for me. Sometimes the pit is like, this big, and they're like, I have a compost bowl over here, as always, to keep all my little spare bits. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, how should I do this? This always kind of scares me to try and
Scares me too.
Okay. Notice I didn't do it in my hand like this, because you're just asking for trouble. So got my pit, and now I try to from my knife in a safe way. There we go. And I could use this knife, but I'm gonna try and find a more reasonable one. to get this stuff out because I don't want to stab my hand, which is apparently a common injury, unfortunately. So it doesn't really matter like what your avocado pieces look like when you put them in here. I just sliced it out and scoop out the insides of this. If you're not really feeling like super avocado-y, you could probably only use half, especially depending on how big your avocado is. But I'm gonna just do the whole thing because this is such a beautiful avocado.
It is
not
pretty.
a single like brown bit or anything. I'm really into it, so I'm gonna put the whole thing. And I bought these yesterday, so I purposefully picked ones that were ready to eat. If I knew that I was gonna make this like a couple days from now, I would pick a little harder ones. I feel bad now, like touching every food in the store, but gotta have my right kind of avocado. So make sure I get all this. And then the recipe calls for half a cup of cilantro, which I'm just gonna eyeball and break up into small pieces. Probably would not want to just throw the whole thing in because what we're doing when we're ripping them into smaller pieces is breaking down the fibers in the stems and such. One time I made carrot top pesto and I just like put the whole top of the carrot in there and then I ended up with these like really long fibers and it was not pleasant. I should have chopped it first to, pre-break down the fibers.
Your timer's up for your kale chips.
Oh, perfect. All right.
How do they look?
They look pretty good. I think they need a little more time. I'll show you what they look like because they're definitely wilted, but they're still a little like floppy.
Yeah.
So I think they need a little more time. Okay. They're gonna crisp up as they cool, but I can already tell just that there's a lot of moisture on them and we need that to go away before they'll crisp up. So back in the oven.
Like 3 more minutes?
What was that?
Do you want me to set a timer for more?
Yeah, give me like 3 minutes.
Okay.
It's definitely also partially because I did not put them in a single layer. So they're like having a harder time drying out. All right, so here's the trick that I was talking about earlier. I'm just gonna kind of beat up this line a little bit and I can already feel that it was really firm and now has a little more give to it. So when I cut this open, we'll cut it open. There we go. It'll be a little easier to juice. I'm going to do it again into my hand. You could probably use lemon instead of lime in this, but I'm going with the lime. Not a single seed. Amazing.
Nice.
And I think I'm just going to do half for now because I don't really like my hummus too citrusy. But it's easier to put stuff in than take stuff out. So stick with that. Some salt and pepper, of course. Ooh, okay. Hopefully, as I am saying, easier to put in than take out. I just put and some pep.
What happened to your automatic grinder?
It's in the cabinet. We have like 5 pepper grinders, so I'm spoiled for choice. And then I'm just gonna put all of the garlic powder because I'm interested to see how this dried garlic situation is gonna work out. All right.
And you could also customize it, right? Because there's always like in the store, you always see like pine nut or like roasted pepper or like garlic aioli hummus,
Yeah.
So I'm sure you could like throw in some different things into your hummus too and experiment.
I'm not really sure what the like technical definition of hummus is. So I certainly would not tell anyone that they're like doing it wrong because to me, hummus is just like chickpea base. Like, I don't know. Is even that like, it's just.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's whatever you want it to be.
Blade is like going all crazy. Get back on there. Hello. Okay. There. That should be good. I hope. And now I will process this up by, oh no, this thing is so complicated. It like only works if you do it a very specific way. Okay, there we go.
Nice.
I am getting the feeling I need a little more liquid, perhaps, because, well, I'm not sure. Normally in like traditional hummus, you would use both lemon and olive oil to make it more, liquid, or it's not.
Timer's up.
You know what I mean? More loose.
Your timer's up, Austin, for your. Austin, you might want to check on your kale chips. Timer's up.
Oh yeah, did the timer go off?
Yes.
I will do that.
Beautiful hummus. Look at that. So creamy.
Yeah, good, right? All right, I can tell they're starting to brown a little bit around the edges, but I want a little more. If you're not into the getting a little bit on the charred side, then, don't leave them in as long as I am, but I like it when they're pretty crispy. So I'll give it another like 2 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm gonna give this a little more and also grab a tasting spoon so I can taste it when it's ready. All right, I think it's done. Well, let's give it a taste and see. Ooh, I like it. Definitely half the lime was a good call. Juicy. And I wouldn't want it any more than this. I'm really surprised that traditional hummus. Oops, I just put my tasting spoon back in. Don't do that. But it's only me and my family that's going to eat it, so we're good. So here's a look at it.
Beautiful.
It's the texture of kind of like mashed potatoes a little bit.
Okay.
I may mix some oil into it or like do that thing where you drizzle oil just to make it a little looser. But for now, I think this is good. Find a bowl to put it in.
How does it taste like? Can you definitely taste the avocado in it?
Oh yeah, well I was gonna say, not really, I think. It's surprisingly like normal hummus. Because what I was gonna say is traditional hummus uses this stuff called tahini, which is, I guess it's like the equivalent of peanut butter, but made from sesame seeds. Mm-hmm. And whenever we use it in class, people are like, what is this? Like, where do I find it? Because it's a pretty uncommon ingredient in most like American cooking, I think, or like traditional American food. So this, if you can't find tahini or you don't want to buy a whole jar just to make hummus, this is a good alternative because you still get that like chickpea flavor and texture and something nice to dip, but you don't have to spring for the tahini. All right, so I'm trying to make this look nice as best I can. But yeah,
presentation is never my strong suit.
What was?
I said presentation is never my strong suit.
Oh yeah, same. Especially when it like, kind of looks like baby food.
Yeah. Yeah, I was telling Austin before this started that we make this a lot in our kids' classes in avocado hummus at 18 Reasons. And they're always like, why is it so green? That doesn't look like hummus. But yeah, so it's delicious.
All on top just to show you what I'm talking about. I don't really know why they do this in like Mediterranean restaurants, but that's what I'm feeling. So
gorgeous.
Here she is.
Wow.
And now I'm just gonna set it aside. I'll put it on a plate with my little veggie sticks. There we go. But yeah, I've actually never made this before, but I am very pleasantly surprised at how it turned out, because I was looking at the recipe and I was kind of like, I don't know about this, but the Cooking Matters recipes always come through.
Don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah. You could probably also include the bean liquid, the what comes in the can with the beans, if you don't bring it, if you wanted to use that instead of like lime juice or whatever else to make it more liquidy. All right, I'm gonna check on my kale chips now. And yeah, they're definitely looking like dried out and
oh, beautiful.
Yeah, not so floppy. Some of the bigger ones, I may put them back in later once I see how much they're going to crisp up as they cool. But like some of these are definitely, you
can hear
it. They're getting a little brown, which is what I want. So I'm going to put them aside, and we'll check back in a few minutes. Oh, one stuck to my pot holder. Right, so we're done with the food processor. So I'm going to put this aside. Joy of joys to clean this silly thing. All right, and then put this here. We're not using any like raw meat or anything that I'm particularly worried about contaminating anything else. So I'm just going to use the same knife and cutting board for our last recipe, which is the watermelon agua fresca. So this is about 3 big slices of watermelon. Like my watermelon was huge, so this is like, I guess, 1 slice. And there's 3 of these already in here, and I'm gonna do 2 more just to show you how I cut them.
That is a giant watermelon.
Yeah, it was like huge. But I will definitely eat it because I love watermelon.
I recently learned that yellow watermelon is a thing.
Yeah, is that just like a different variety? Did you actually try it?
No, I didn't. I saw a picture and someone was eating it, and I was like, what is that? And they were like, it's a watermelon. And I was like, it's yellow.
I wonder if it's different.
Yeah, I don't know.
So putting this in here. This is a really great recipe if you find yourself in a situation that I often do, where I cut into a watermelon or really any kind of fruit, and it's just like not ripe or like not good enough. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to like eat this whole watermelon because it's like not that good. But you can make it into a smoothie or an agua fresca kind of juice like we are today. Yesterday, I cracked open a honeydew and it was like not good. So I made it into kind of like a sorbet. I froze the chunks. I cut into chunks like this, like 1-inch-ish pieces. And then I froze them on a cookie sheet, and I blended them up with some honey and it was like lime juice and a little bit of oat milk for like some.
Yum.
And now it's like a delicious ice cream. And the sugar or honey and the lemon kind of masks the unripeness of the fruit. So
that sounds so good.
Good way to repurpose your food.
Nice.
Actually, I'm not quite ready for this yet. I forgot about this lime. Or actually, you know what I'm going to do? Because while we're talking about food waste, I have these 2 halves from our previous recipes of a lemon and a lime that are going to go right into my blender. Let me like tilt you up a little bit so you can see. There you go. So yeah, I talk about food waste a little bit, probably like every week, but is a great time to think about food waste, because probably whatever you have lying around can be repurposed into a snack. So if you have like some veggies that you don't really know what to do with, or something that's about to go bad, I can guarantee you that there is some sort of creative application that will give whatever it is a second life, so you don't have to throw it out.
Yeah, you can just Google it. I always do that. I'm like, what do I do with old arugula? And then I come up with something. I freeze a lot of my disregarded veggies to use for like a stock.
Yeah. Stock is a great like cheat because as long as you have freezer space, anything that's going bad, just throw it in the freezer. And then once your collection is big enough, you have stock.
Yep.
And to make stock, you literally just like boil it and then the water becomes the stock.
It's so nice and it's so flavorful and tasty and nutritious. It's just the most random vegetable.
Yeah. So I'm not going to add any sugar or water to start because no sugar because the watermelon is pretty sweet as it was. So I don't think it's going to need it. And no water because I'm not really sure what the consistency is going to be once I blend this, but we can always check after and see what it's like. So in here is just, I guess it's like about a quarter of a huge watermelon and the half lemon and the half of the lime. So here we go. I'm going to mute you just so it's not like blows out.
Okay. Yeah, and I think if you were using a different, oh wow, so that blended up so easy. If you were using a different fruit that is not already very watery like watermelon is, then you could probably add a little bit of liquid.
All right. Wow. That was so quick. Doing the melon yesterday was like a chore and a half, but that took 2 seconds. So I'm going to get a little glass to give it a taste and see what I think. The recipe calls for, I think it's half a cup of ice blended in there, but I think I'd rather just add the ice like you would any other drink and just have watermelon juice. But if you wanted to make it more of like a slushy, you could certainly blend it in there. Yeah, that is so good. Watermelon is amazing. Doesn't need any sugar. I might add another half or maybe this whole lime because I think it could use a little more citrus, like, tanginess.
Nice.
The recipe calls for mint, but didn't have any. Mint would certainly be good, either blended in or as just a garnish. If you're over 21, you could make a watermelon margarita, which
true.
I've made a lot of different fruit margaritas lately.
Well,
I call it
What's your favorite?
It's just like fruit and tequila. So,
what's your favorite combo?
I made one that was like a cherry. I had this like cherry concentrate, and I just put like some sparkling water and some of this cherry concentrate and some tequila. It was really good.
Yum.
And give it a little blend. Just drink this. The only thing I'm not crazy about, and you get this with most fruit that you blend, is it gets kind of like foamy.
The foam.
So I don't know, like, hit me up with your solutions to avoid the foam, but.
Yeah, I agree. It's always that first sip and it's all foam.
Maybe you could like skim it off like you would in a stock. All right. I think this is perfect as it is. So I'm going to pour myself a glass, maybe put some ice cubes in it.
That's beautiful.
So not only is this a great way to use up fruit that you have, but it's also a good soda alternative. Like if you're craving something sweet and you're tempted to go for a really sugary drink, this is a lot healthier for you. All right, so I'm just gathering up all of our snacks that we've made. I'm going to plate up the kale chips.
So many beautiful colors. Look at that.
I know. I love snacks.
And that was so quick too. Like if you were making these, say you weren't making these all three at once on the same day, it took very little time to whip up each one. So saving time, saving food.
So I can
and a new way to eat kale.
Kale chips are definitely more crispier. I'm gonna
nice.
Gross, but I'm gonna come up close and eat one so you can hear it. Can you hear
Oh,
that?
so crispy. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So some of them are more crispy, and some of them, I think the ones that were like maybe under other ones are not as crispy. So definitely one layer. Don't do what I did.
How's
But
the curry powder?
it's good. I think mostly what I taste is the lemon,
Okay.
but the lemon and the curry powder together, they're very like zingy. I'd compare it to maybe like a salt and vinegar chip. Like
Okay.
if that's what you're after. That's like, this is good
Yeah.
for that. But you could certainly do just like salt and pepper or garlic or I was trying to compare them to other chips. Probably would not do like a barbecue situation, but try it. You know how it goes.
Yeah, you never know.
Here we are.
All right. Well, thank you, Austin. That was a wonderful snack time, little meal prep. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them in the comments. We can respond after it's done too. I just posted a survey link for anyone who was watching or cooking along with us. If you could go ahead and fill that out, that would greatly help us as well. 18 Reasons is also doing a lot of food distribution during quarantine. And if you are looking or someone you know is looking for food distribution around you, you can go ahead and text food. I'm going to write this in the comments. Food or comida to 877-877, and that is going to go ahead and let you know where there are free food distribution sites around you. And then if you cooked along with us too, take a picture of your meal, tag us at 18 Reasons on Facebook, on Instagram. Feel free to take a look at our other videos on our YouTube channels. We have a ton of different recipe videos, cooking demos. We have physical activity videos, nutrition activities for kids and teens. And so we have a lot of stuff on there. And check us out at 18reasons.org too to learn more about us if you're just joining us for the first time. So thank you again. We have another segment next week, so we'll be posting the recipe packets at the end of this week. And you should all be receiving an email from our partner sites with that recipe packet as well. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Austin. We're going to let her go enjoy her snack time. And everyone have a good day. Bye.
Bye.